Okay, it's going to be time to talk TNA Impact very, very soon. Before I do, I just want to give you a little bit of information about what's going on lately. So, I just finished watching Impact, and I'm going to be shooting out this video very soon, actually. As soon as I get it done, actually, I'm going to upload it to the channel. So, couple things first. A lot of news going down. I do want to talk about that later on. The WWE is supposedly bringing a brick-and-mortar Hall of Fame to Universal Orlando. It supposedly will be at the NBA City location at City Walk, but I'll be talking about that when we get to it. Apparently there is rumors about Halloween Horror Nights bringing back the roaming hordes and set scare zones, so that's another thing we're going to talk about in the near future. And the DVC points, I will know tomorrow afternoon if I got them or not, and I'm hoping I do. And right now I'm also trying to get an iPad, because if I have an iPad, I'll be able to shoot videos on the iPad as well, and get those videos out to everyone as quick as I can. That's what we're shooting for at this point. I just need some more technology in order to be able to shoot videos. I mean, the iPhone right now only holds 16 megabytes. And that's not enough. I can't even hold 3 30-minute videos on here. It's kind of pushing it. So, yeah, I need a lot more space in order to shoot more videos. Oh, yeah. By the way, we are, as of yesterday, we are 676, that's it, 676 away from 10,000 views, and we're at 86 subscribers right now, so hopefully that'll change soon, and we'll get our way to 10,100 subscribers, so hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. So, like I said, tomorrow will end up being Grown Ups, and then Pacific Rim in 3D with AJ, and then we'll come back to the house. We're going to shoot The Summer of Tarantino, which is AJ's favorite movie of all time, Pulp Fiction, as well as Versus, which will come out on Sunday, and also the movie reviews of the aforementioned Grown Ups and Pacific Rim, as well as The Kings of Summer and Trance, and VHS 2, and probably a little tidbit on Kevin Hart, Let Me Explain. So that's going to be coming up tomorrow. And this whole weekend will be all about AJ like it always is. So, without any further ado, let's talk some TNA Impact. This was live to tape, of course, Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we started off the show with Bully Ray coming to the ring with the other members of Aces and Eights. It's time to take care of some business. First off, Chris Sabin, your new X Division champion. Who can cash in on me next week in Louisville, Kentucky at Destination X? Listen, little man, do yourself a favor. Don't trade it in. Keep your championship and go on with your career. I'm a bad, bad man who does some bad, bad things. Tonight, the Aces and Eights are going to vote in a brand new vice president. And it's going to be us, not you, the fans. That's obviously a dig on the WWE app. It's all about family business. This brings me to the Main Event Mafia. So the Main Event Mafia challenges us. So, allow me to say, from the bottom of my heart, to the Main Event Mafia, the Aces and Eights say, no. We fight on our own terms. Here comes the Mafia out to the ring. So Kurt Angle says, why don't you take the challenge as a warning? Next week, we'll eliminate the Aces and Eights one by one. And then you look to your left, you look to your right, you look behind you, you look in front of you, and you see nothing but Chris Sabin standing before you, and all the members of Aces and Eights will fall by the wayside. Sting basically says the newest member is a heavy hitter, and you'll find out who that man is later on tonight. So, TNA is WCW tonight. TNA does a Joker's Wild tournament with 3 matches, 3 tag team matches, utilizing the Bound for Glory series. Those 6 superstars will go into a gauntlet match, i.e. Battle Royal, and until 4 men are eliminated, the final 2 will compete in a singles match to determine who goes on to win the gauntlet match and get 25 points in the Bound for Glory series. So, these are random tag teams, and your participants for this, for the gauntlet match, are the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy, Joseph Park, the phenomenal AJ Styles, the Samoan submission machine Samoa Joe, Jay Bradley, Hernandez, Magnus, Mr. Anderson, the It Factor Bobby Roode, the Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and a double Austin Aries. So, basically, if you don't remember, WCW back in the day, and we're going back to 91 and 92 in this case, they had a concept called Battle Bowl, the Lethal Lottery. Basically, they had random tag teams that were set up, and the winner of these random tag team matches will go on to a 2-ring Battle Royal to determine who would be the Battle Bowl champion. And that was in 91, and Sting won at 91. And in 92, the Great Muta won, and they completely eliminated the 2-ring concept, and it was only 1 ring. So, basically, the Battle Royal was done. You had to throw the guy into ring number 2, and then from ring number 2, over the top rope to the floor. And if you didn't get eliminated from both rings, you were still in the match. Well, they're doing this again, and TNA does this, and they call it Joker's Wild. Joker's Wild basically is literally the Lethal Lottery, and they even have a drum and a selection process with JB and Christy Hemme on the entrance ramp. And they're setting up these random tag team matches, and of course the winners of these said random tag team matches will go on to a 6-man Battle Royal, i.e. the Battle Bowl, in order to determine who gets to be the final 2. Those final 2 compete in a one-on-one match to determine who gets the 25 points in the BFG series. Quite interesting. So, excuse me. First random tag team match, Jeff Hardy and Joseph Park taking on AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. So, we go to the end of the match, and Hardy gets locked in the calf killer. Joseph Park goes to make the save, and ends up double axe handling to break the pin up. Tagging to Joseph Park, tagging to Samoa Joe, and Park just charges into Joe, knocking him down over and over again. High back body drop on AJ Styles, and a big avalanche in the corner on Joe. So while Joe is getting accosted in the corner, AJ is on the ring apron preparing, and when Park turns around, he springboards off the top rope and nails that flying forearm, and Park staggers back into the coquina clutch, and Joe taps him out. So Samoa Joe and AJ Styles are the first superstars to advance into the gauntlet match. We don't have to wait too long for our next Joker's Wild match, because we get Jay Bradley and Hernandez taking on Magnus and Mr. Anderson. That's the Strange Bedfellows teams, obviously, working together, the Main Event Mafia and Aces and Eights. So, Magnus ends up hitting the inverted atomic drop, and then Joe connects with the Yakuza kick. excuse me, Magnus hits the inverted atomic drop, and then mows him over with the Yakuza kick, and Joe hits the leaping back senton, and somehow that ends up, that's on Jay Bradley, tagging or Sean Hernandez. Hernandez comes in, and he misses the splash in the corner. Two big clotheslines, whip, reverse, and Bradley pulls the foot. He goes to sweep, and he grabs Hernandez's foot, unbeknownst to him. Hernandez looks down at you, what are you doing? And Magnus rolls him up from behind, 1, 2, 3. The next superstars to go into the gauntlet match, Mr. Anderson and Magnus. So, we got our third match of the Joker's Wild Tournament. But before that, we have a little backstage skirmish between Bad Influence and the Dirty Heels. Basically, they're pretty much trying to see who's the bigger jerk. Pretty much that's how it always works. And, of course, they know that they're the final 4 participants. So, Christopher Daniels says, yeah, it's okay. It's going to be me and Kazarian against the Dirty Heels, Aries and Rude. And I'm like, that's fine. That works. That was not to be, folks. As the teams were split down the middle, as Kazarian and Bobby Roode ended up taking on Christopher Daniels and Austin Aries. This was easily the best match of the series, without any question. And given the 4 superstars, this is the match that you know was going to be great. So, Aries shoulder blocks Bobby Roode. We get to the midpoint of the match. And goes for a slingshot senton. Kaz pulls the legs, and instead of springing over, he goes face first onto the ring apron. So, we come back from commercial break, and Kaz has got a halo choke. The crossface halo, basically this across the neck. Pulling up on the neck, and he fights up, he elbows out, and Kaz plants him with a TKO, fireman's carry into an ace crusher, or Hawaiian crusher, depending on what you want to call it. And he gets a 2 count out of it, and he goes for the fade to black. It gets countered into a sunset flip, and 1, 2, and kick out. So he ducks the clothesline, and Aries spikes him with a rolling elbow, tag into Bobby Roode, tag into Christopher Daniels. They trade blows back and forth, back and forth. He comes off the ropes, does Daniels, gets planted with a double R spine buster. 1, 2, and no, Daniels kicks out at the last minute. So he goes for the perfect plex. It gets reversed into the Uranagi, and he looks like he's going up top for the BME, but he gets stopped. Blind tag by Austin Aries. Aries goes up top, nails the missile drop kick. And when he gets up to his feet, he goes for the IED in the corner, and he misses, and Kaz ends up tagging himself in, hits a slingshot DDT, 1, 2, and kick out. So Daniels comes in, breaks the pin. So Kaz is kind of like, what's going on? Well, this is smart right here. Austin Aries thumbs Kaz in the eye. Alright? So Aries thumbs Kaz in the eye. So Kaz is completely blinded at this point. And Kaz gets nailed with the IED in the corner. And there's a blind tag from Daniels. He comes in the ring, and Kaz is kind of like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, he sees a body coming at him, and he rolls him up into a small package for the 1, 2, 3. This person he rolls up, his tag team partner, Christopher Daniels. So, of course, when Kaz got thumbed to the eye, Austin Aries completed 2 different things. Number 1, he disoriented Kaz to the point that he actually took advantage of Daniels, which he didn't want to do during the match, and basically led to his downfall in the long run, which is kind of strange, but obviously led to his downfall, even though the fact that Aries is sitting pretty with 7 points right now. His tag team partner, Bobby Roode, on the other hand, is 0-3, so he's got a big zip. Needless to say, he did this so he could get Bobby Roode the win and hopefully get him the 25 points. Winners of the match, Bobby Roode and Kazarian. So, we've got our 6 men going into the gauntlet match, and we'll get that later on in the show, but we get the Aces and Eights in the back, and they're here to pick the new vice president. So Taz comes back, and everybody's there. Bully's like, you know what, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. You guys are going to decide who's going to be the new VP. I'm not voting. So, Mr. Anderson gets asked who he chooses. The a-hole he chooses himself. Doc smartly chooses himself, so we're 1-1 right now. So, Wes, what do you say? Anderson. Devon. Doc. Bish. Garrett, of course. Anderson. Taz. Doc. Okay, Nux, you're the deciding factor. So he grabs the beer, and he beer daps Doc. Since, of course, Doc and Nux have been, like, kind of, not really a tag team per se, but they've been, like, monsters with a purpose. And pretty much they have been kind of, like, working together. So he beer daps him, and then he goes, Anderson. So Doc is incensed, and Mr. Anderson becomes the brand new vice president of Aces and Eights. Nux looks at Doc and says, it's not about you, it's about the club. So everyone walks away, and Doc is left pretty much seething mad. So we get our next match of the evening. This match I've been waiting a long time for. Okay. At Slammiversary, 2 people stole the show. And I don't say 2... I said 2 people. I didn't say 2 guys stole the show. I didn't say 2 wrestlers stole the show. I said 2 people stole the show. The people that stole the show were Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell. They had a very brutal last knockout standing match that ended with an ace crusher off the ramp to the floor. And the entire wrestling world was abuzz because of it. So much so that Vince McMahon wanted AJ and Caitlyn to show that kind of intensity. Yeah, that didn't happen. And they were hoping that Taryn and Gail would deliver yet again, this time in a ladder match, with the only thing on the line being the #1 contendership to Mickie James's Knockouts Championship. It was a contract hanging above the ring. ODB was your referee, of course, and Mickie James sat at ringside to watch the proceedings. So, we go midway through the match, like you do, and they had a tug-of-war over the ladder. And Taryn gets the upper hand and shoves the ladder back into Gail, who was pinned against the turnbuckle and the ladder. So Taryn drop kicks the ladder into Gail. They trade forearms. There's a knee, and the ladder's set up in the corner. Gail gets nailed with a side somersault neck snap and a whip, and she springs off the ladder and gets caught with a knee to the midsection. So Taryn sets the ladder up under the contract. She climbs up, and she gets sent to the ladder. Okay, basically what happens is this. She climbs up, Gail pulls her off, and she ocean cyclones her, like for a wheelbarrow, basically. And she lets go, and Gail sends her face first in the ladder from the wheelbarrow position. So Gail sets the ladder up, she climbs up, Gail gets pulled off, and she goes for the ring post figure 4 around the ring post, obviously, on the other side of the ring. She gets kicked off. So they both climb up, they trade forearms on the top. So both get knocked off the top of the ladder and, like a whiplash effect, hit the top rope and go down to the canvas. So both women are down at this point. So Taryn shoves the ladder straight up into Gail's face. And Gail is tied up in the rungs of the ladder. Her leg is tied up there. So while she is trapped, at least momentarily, Taryn gets out of the ring and grabs another ladder from under the ring and sets it up kind of like a makeshift table across the ropes and between the ladder. So it's basically laying across the ladder. This gives Gail time to get up at this point. So, she gets pulled off. Gail gets put on the ladder. And then Taryn climbs up top. Gail moves out of the way. So Taryn is climbing. and Gail pulls her leg through the rung of the ladder and locks on the figure 4 through the rungs of the ladder. Very unique way to do it. So Gail's climbing up, and she gets kicked away, and she starts climbing up using the other ladder. So they're basically like fighting on this other ladder. They trade blows up top, and Gail Kim gets locked in a dragon sleeper, and Gail's about to fade away, and Taryn lets her go, and she goes hard first into the canvas. So Taryn grabs for the contract, which of course she's not completely able to grab because the ladder isn't set up the right way. So she goes to grab the contract, and when she does that, she ends up deciding, screw it. She does a flying body press off the ladder onto Gail. So Gail gets put up on the second ladder, and she climbs up to fight her again. They trade blows once more. She goes for the ace crusher again off the bridge ladder, and Gail, of course, has this scouted because she's the veteran in all this, and she throws her off that second ladder to the canvas. So Gail goes for eat defeat. It gets reversed, countered back into the dragon sleeper, and they're in the ropes at this point. This is a very unique finish that I've never seen before, and obviously this is not going to work in a male ladder match. Well, it might, but not something you really would go for. So the dragon sleeper is put on Gail. Gail's basically trying to figure out what to do to escape. And instead of fight out of it, what she does is she takes the long, stringy blonde hair of Taryn Terrell, she ties it around the ropes, and she traps her completely. So she can't go anywhere. Gail climbs up, grabs the contract, and Taryn dives at her at the last second to try to climb the ladder, and of course she's too late. And Gail Kim is your new #1 contender to the Knockouts Championship. This match was good. Really good. AJ and Caitlyn at Money in the Bank on Sunday, definitely not going to be as good as this. I'm sure the intensity will be there, but I don't think it's going to be there as much as this. I've loved these Taryn Terrell, Gail Kim matches. I think there needs to be a third one. Taryn won the first, Gail won the second. The only thing left, I think the last knockout standing match, then you have a ladder match. The only thing that you can do now, Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell got to get in a cage. They got to get in a cage. And again, I have absolutely no problem with this. I love this feud. But of course, Gail's the #1 contender now, so she's got to take on Mickie James. I don't know if this is going to be a Destination X next week. I'm highly doubting it, given the fact that Destination X is already a stacked card as it is. And also, they're going to be bringing back a lot of superstars from the X Division's past. I know Homicide is going to return. Sanjay Dutt is supposed to be there. There's several superstars from TNA's past that are supposed to be involved with Destination X next week. So, we'll see what happens with that. Our gauntlet match is up next, so a battle royal basically. AJ and Magnus start, and AJ gets nailed with the rebound lariat, and AJ neck snaps him over across the top rope when he tries to eliminate him. So, drop kick to Magnus. Kaz is your third man out. So he works Magnus over, tries to eliminate AJ, and Magnus breaks it. And AJ catches him with a snap suplex into the turnbuckle, mind you, on Kaz. Magnus tries to dump AJ over the top, and Kaz nails a backdrop suplex on AJ when he breaks that hold. So Samoa Joe is the next man. He's the fifth man in the match. No, fourth man in the match. Wow, like I said, Owen can't do math. That's how it works. So the snap jabs on Kaz and the Yakuza and the back senton combo on Kaz. Magnus tries to get rid of AJ yet again, and Kaz back body drops AJ over the top rope to the apron. So they fight. Kaz nails a right hand, tries to knock him off, charges in, and AJ uses his momentum to carry Kaz over the top rope to the floor. Kaz is eliminated. So Mr. Anderson is out, comes out during the commercial break. And when we get back to commercial break, Anderson's on top. So Bobby Roode is the last superstar. And Anderson clotheslines AJ over the top, so AJ's gone. And Joe and Anderson double clothesline each other over the top rope to the floor, so they're gone. So now we get a singles match between Magnus and Bobby Roode. Obviously, Magnus got his first points in the BFG series this year by beating Bobby Roode. So, needless to say, Roode has a tad bit of a chip on his shoulder, and deservedly so. So, they trade blows, whip, reverse, duck the clothesline, and a high knee lift from Magnus. It goes for the rebound lariat, gets countered, and then the double R spine buster, 1, 2, and a kick out. So, Bobby Roode locks on the crossface. And Magnus uses the momentum, bridges back with the weight, and pins him for a 2 count. So, he goes for the cloverleaf on Bobby Roode. Roode crawls to the ropes and breaks the hold right in the nick of time before he has to tap out. Puts Magnus on the top turnbuckle. A big right hand. He climbs up top for the superplex. So, Magnus punches out. They trade blows off top. He gets a lucky shot, knocks Roode off the top, and he goes for the flying elbow drop. Magnus rolls out of the way. Long day. Magnus finds nothing but canvas because Roode was out of the way. He goes for the perfect plex. It gets reversed into the over-the-shoulder power slam. He lands on his feet, rolls him up for 2. Magnus reverses, puts the feet underneath the armpits, rolls him over onto his shoulders, stacks him up in 1, 2, 3. Big win for Magnus and a big 25 points in the Bound for Glory series. Let's talk about BFG series standings. Dead last, Joseph Park, -10. Shouldn't have got yourself DQ'd, sir. Jay Bradley and Kaz both have 0, as well as Bobby Roode has 0. Hernandez now has 7, Austin Aries has 7, and Mr. Anderson has 7. 5th place, AJ Styles with 12. 4th is Christopher Daniels with 14. Long day. Jeff Hardy has 17, which puts him in 3rd. And the Main Event Mafia are in charge of the top 2 spots as Samoa Joe has 19. And with the virtue of this victory in the gauntlet match, Magnus sits pretty on top of the leaderboard of the Bound for Glory series with 49 points. Yes, Samoa Joe is 30 points behind Magnus at this point. Then again, all he's got to do is get 3 submission victories, and we got it all tied up. So, obviously, you're going to want to shoot for the submissions. You get 10 big points for that, 7 points for a pinfall, and, of course, 5 points for a countout, 2 points for a DQ, and 2 points for a draw. -10 for Joseph Park and anybody else that gets a loss via DQ. So, gets themselves disqualified, they're gone. It's decision time. Main event segment coming up. Hulk Hogan comes out, and like I said, it's decision time for Chris Sabin. He has an opportunity, a golden opportunity, to cash in his X Division Championship for a guaranteed World Heavyweight title match against Bully Ray next week in Louisville, Kentucky at Destination X. So Sabin comes out with the X Division Championship. He goes to give the championship to Hogan, and the Aces and Eights music starts. Bully Ray comes out, he's like, whoa, whoa. So somehow in between this time, Sabin grabbed the X Division Championship back and he hoisted it over his shoulder. You must be living in a fantasy land. Do not hand over the championship to Hulk Hogan. There's no way in hell that a little boy like you would ever defeat a man, a world heavyweight champion, a president, not a vice president, long day, a president, a man, a world heavyweight champion like me. So Sabin decides he wants to show some balls and says, shut the hell up, bully. You know, need you forget, I've beaten you before. In this very ring. I pinned you in 3D's retirement match. As a matter of fact, I'm the only, technically one of the only, superstars to ever kick out of 3D. They call me the underdog. That's fine. It's something I'm quite used to. But you know what? All I need is one shot. Just one chance to beat you next week. And then once you're looking up at the ceiling, looking at the lights, wondering what went wrong, I can say, do you know who I am? I'm Chris Sabin. I'm your TNA World Heavyweight Champion. So Bully's trying to get over at the last second. He's like, don't you hand him that championship. Don't you hand that belt. So he raises the title in the air, hands it to Hulk Hogan, and it's official. Bully goes, you just signed your death warrant, kid. You know what? You're not just fighting me, but you're fighting my whole family. So the Aces and Eights music starts for like a second. And that stops. The Main Event Mafia theme plays. So the Mafia is going to make sure the Aces and Eights don't get involved in the World Heavyweight Championship match at Destination X next week. And they want to introduce their next member, their heavy hitter, Quentin Rampage Jackson. Now, I don't really understand much about how this works because I'm not an MMA guy. I mean, I've watched it before, but I mean, I'm not an MMA guy. It's funny. It really is. I know that the Aces and Eights, it's really funny that they're playing into this. The storyline with Aces and Eights versus Main Event Mafia. And every member of the Main Event Mafia is a former World Heavyweight Champion. It's funny you mention that. You ask about Magnus. Well, obviously we know Joe, Angle, and Sting are all former TNA World Heavyweight Champions. Obviously. Magnus. Let's look at his pedigree, shall we? He won the GHC tag team titles with Samoa Joe in Pro Wrestling Noah. He's a former IWGP tag team champion with Doug Williams when they were the British Invasion. He's won the TNA World Tag Team titles with both Joe and Williams. And also, he is something else. He is the former Ring Ka King heavyweight champion. That makes him a champion, so that's the reason why he fits in the Main Event Mafia, if you weren't thinking about it like that. Rampage Jackson, on the other hand, well, let's look at his pedigree, shall we? What is Rampage Jackson? He is a former UFC light heavyweight champion. He is the Pride Middleweight Grand Prix runner-up and is also the Pride Middleweight champion. Given the fact that UFC breaks things down in divisions, Rampage can't be UFC World Champion or UFC Heavyweight Champion. He's the UFC Light Heavyweight Champion, which is the world title for his division. So yes, both Magnus and Rampage Jackson fit the criteria of former world champion in the Main Event Mafia. I see there being room for one more. And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say the last member of the Main Event Mafia is Jeff Jarrett. Why? Number one, Jarrett's not been on television in forever. Number two, he most definitely fits the mantra of former world champion, and definitely fits the mantra of someone who is a homegrown TNA guy. Obviously, when Jerry Jarrett ran TNA Wrestling, before, obviously, everything went over to Impact. I mean, it's still TNA, but I mean, still. It's more, like, called Impact now instead of TNA. But, pretty much, I think that Jeff Jarrett is the last member of the Mafia. I think it fits. I think it works. I think it's a good idea. And I know Angle and Jarrett are professional enough to put their differences, their legitimate differences aside, and work together. Who else could be in the Mafia? Well, I would say James Storm, but he's kind of doing the deal with Gunner right now, so Storm's out. I'd say Bobby Roode or Austin Aries, but again, you really don't want to bring one and not the other unless you're turning one of them completely face. They're tweeners right now, basically. They're called the Dirty Heels. The irony of that is the fact that they're both kind of tweeners right now. It could be somebody we're not even expecting. It's got to be a world champion. it fits the main event Mafia. So, of course, Rampage is a light heavyweight world champion, and Magnus is a former world tag team champion, but he is the Ring King world heavyweight champion. So he fits the mantra. It works fine. And all these superstars spent time in Japan, except for Rampage, but that's another story altogether. Did he even fight in Japan? Maybe. I mean, Battle Arts. Japan. Yeah, he fought in Japan, so it fits. Rampage fought in Japan, so you basically have to have some sort of Japanese pedigree, won a championship in Japan, or had high-profile matches in Japan. Every member of the Main Event Mafia fits. You have to be a world champion. Every member of the Main Event Mafia fits. So, yeah, Jeff Jarrett needs to be the last member of the Main Event Mafia. I mean, they could go with Hulk Hogan. I mean, they could go with AJ Styles, like, shave the emo Styles look and everything. But I think the final member of the Main Event Mafia is Jeff Jarrett. And again, I have no problem with that. Jeff Jarrett fighting the good fight to rid the company of aces and eights. I don't have a problem with that. So, we'll see where we go from there. That's my opinion. I think Jeff Jarrett is the final member of the Main Event Mafia. And I don't have a problem with that. What we learned, boys and girls? Well, I like the Joker's Wild concept. I really, really, really enjoyed the Christopher Daniels and Austin Aries versus Kazarian and Bobby Roode match. It was awesome. Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell in a ladder match knocked it out of the park yet again. These two ladies together, these two women together, phenomenal. They are excellent together. I want to see this continue. Of course, we had Magnus and Anderson teaming up together in the Joker's Wild, so dissension between the Aces and Eights and the Main Event Mafia. Again, I don't have a problem with this. So that was good for what it was. Aces and Eights select a new VP, which ends up being Mr. Anderson. Shock and surprise there. And Magnus gets a big win in the gauntlet match, getting 25 huge points, beating Bobby Roode yet again, and getting a 30-point lead in the Bound for Glory series. So, a lot of things are going to happen at Destination X next week. I look forward to it. It's going to be a great event. Obviously, we got Money in the Bank on Sunday, and given the fact TNA doesn't have any more pay-per-views this year that are not like the one-night-only pay-per-views, like the already taped pay-per-views. They don't have any live pay-per-views until Bound for Glory in October. I think that this is a good idea to make Destination X on Spike TV and make it a free show. I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to do really well. I think that the fact that it is a pay-per-view quality show may boost the ratings a bit for TNA. I hope it does, because TNA does not need any more problems right now. I know they're having some difficulties in paying their payroll. Hopefully that'll get rectified sooner rather than later, and TNA can go back on, and we can silence all the people that are saying TNA is everybody's jumping ship, trying to get off the TNA ship before it Titanics. So hopefully that doesn't happen. TNA is good for competition. Competition is good for Vince McMahon, obviously, because Vince actually, when he cares, when he has competition, like when he was against WCW, he showcased his talent a lot better. So that's what I'd like to see. Competition is a great thing, and TNA being a company can only be good for all of us wrestling fans, because TNA will work hard to try to be the alternative. WWE will work hard to try to make sure that there isn't an alternative. So, again, a good show tonight. I very much enjoyed it. We'll talk wrestling again, actually, on... it's funny you mentioned this. On Saturday, I just got access to the new NXT, so I will be watching that. I don't know. Tomorrow will be a long night, to be totally honest, because of the all the taping we have to do tomorrow night, all the pop tapings with AJ. But Saturday, I'll watch NXT, and I'll watch SmackDown, and then I will recap it for you guys on Saturday. And Summer of Tarantino, Pulp Fiction will be up on Saturday, too, so we're going to film that. So, as always, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. If you like these videos, tell your friends about them. Tell anybody about them. You can post them on message boards. Post them on a bulletin board. If you go to a college or school, you can do that. Get the word out about Pop. And tell your friends about it. Tell your enemies about it. Tell anybody you want about it. And spread the word. If you like these videos, thumbs them up. Do leave a comment. I don't get very many, but I get a few, so thank you out there for the ones that do leave comments. Do subscribe. We need to get 100 subscribers and 10,000 views before September 19th. We've got 70 days left, so it's going to happen, folks. Mark my words, it will happen, and it's going to be awesome. So, you like these videos? Share them. Share them on your social networking. You can share them on Twitter. You can share them on Facebook. You can share them any way you want to share them. If you have a MySpace, do it that way. Anyway, just make it happen. Get the word out about this channel. Get the word out about Pop. If you want to tweet me, you can. It's at Sir Owen Disney. If you want to send me an email and try to become part of this Popcaster revolution, you can send me an email at sirowendisney@gmail.com. And a lot of awesome content still to come this summer and beyond. So stay tuned. It's going to get fun from here. So until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.